River City Podcast Federation.
Welcome back to Laughing in the Dark, the podcast where I hang out in haunted places with comedians. I'm your host, Sara Jones. This is another fixture in our Minisode series where I get to talk to you about your ghost stories. For this Minisode, I got to talk to Kelly from Las Vegas, Nevada, who describes some creepy experiences he encountered while working at the haunted Biltmore Estate in Asheville, North Carolina, a large private estate owned by the esteemed Vanderbilt family. Here's the call.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, this is Kelly.
Hi, Kelly. This is Sara Jones.
Oh, nice to finally hear from you. I'm sorry I didn't answer the phone. Like I said, it came up restricted. It was very odd. I'm like, oh, maybe it's them, but I wasn't sure. Thank you for sending the email.
No, of course. Yeah, I actually had that happen yesterday. Someone said it came up as scam likely. So.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Oh. All right. So how would you like to proceed?
Well, yeah. So why don't we start with, why don't you tell us, you told us your name is Kelly. Where are you calling from?
I'm coming from Las Vegas, Nevada currently.
Oh, from Vegas. Fun. Okay. And maybe something about yourself. Just introduce yourself.
Okay. Well, I'm originally from Blacksburg, Virginia. I've been traveling all over the United States and the world. I pick up stories from other people. I'm a sailor. I'm a merchant marine. And one of the places I settled for a little while was Asheville, North Carolina, and I loved it there. It was so green and perfect and lush. And the rain after it rained, it smelled so good. Rivers flowing freely, tons of hiking trails. It was just beautiful there. And I ended up working for an entertainment venue called the Biltmore Estate. And I was there for about 4 years, 4.5, maybe 5 years. And I found out that the place was haunted, and it kind of piqued my interest because I found out that that area in general of the East Coast is supposedly very active. Now, I never understood why it did. Maybe it's because it's older than the rest of the USA. But anyway, so I kind of settled in Asheville, owned a small farm out there, and just to see what I could do and get away with, and owned some goats, chickens, ducks, a couple of miniature cows for my dairy production. And while I was working at Biltmore, they ended up having this area called the Antler Hill Barn. And the Antler Hill Barn also included the Antler Hill Village and several other areas on the property. Now, Biltmore Estate was 8,000 acres to run and play, and the French Broad River literally cut it in half. And I worked at several different sections on this estate. Now, do you know what the Biltmore Estate is?
I do not. I know nothing about it.
Oh. Okay, well, it is America's largest privately owned home in America. Let's just put it that way. Yeah, it's the floor plan apparently is measured in acres. I never actually saw the floor plan, so you'll have to forgive me. Yes, I'm not joking.
Acres?
The floor plan was measured in acres. And there
who
were
needs a house this big? Is it like a whole city that lives there? Oh, the Vanderbilts.
Not quite, but close. The Vanderbilts, that's right. George Washington Vanderbilt built it in 1895. And I could give you the whole rundown of the history of it and things like that, but I'm going to give you a current rundown. So there was 4 floor levels. When you come in through the main door, you got the 4 going up from the grand staircase, and then you had 2 subfloors on top of that, and they had an indoor swimming pool. Now, they made this in 1895, and they had an indoor swimming pool. That's just crazy.
Yeah.
Right? And they built it for 3 people. George Washington Vanderbilt, his mother, and his wife, Edith Vanderbilt. And it was just those three. After his mother died, they had a child named Cornelia Vanderbilt. She inherited afterward. But it was just for three people, and I'm like, that's crazy.
That sounds so lonely. And also,
it was very...
Whenever I see like a huge house, like a mansion, I mean, this is like a mansion times 10, right? But whenever I see a big house, I get anxiety thinking about cleaning it. Like I can't.
Right?
Yeah.
But the thing you have to remember, though, is if you own a house or a mansion that big, you can usually afford to hire people to clean it for you.
Right. I guess that makes sense. But yeah, I just would feel like, what if you can't find stuff, like where you like to keep it? I don't know.
I get disturbed by the echo, quite frankly.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point, too.
You talk too loud and your voice just carries on, and I'm like, whoo, it's like living in a canyon.
Yeah. It just seems so excessive.
Well, anyway, so I was going to tell you a couple of stories of some of the encounters that happened, not just in the house, but on the other parts of the estate as well.
And this is you experienced this, or you heard about it?
No, this is from the other employees. I've got information from, let's see here, 2 security guards, 3 maintenance men, and 1 night cleaner.
Oh, wow, you did your homework.
Yes, I did. Well, I'm very interested in the paranormal. I like to know what's going on, even though I've never seen anything. Yeah. Everyone else around me seems to have. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so the first story is there is the security guard was walking in an area called Section 6, and that's where they store all their antique books and antique paperwork and things like that for storage so it doesn't get lost. They actually have a first printing of Origin of the Species by Charles Darwin up there.
Oh, how cool is that?
Exactly. I got to look at it. Didn't get to touch it. Right. But, and so up there above Section 6 is an area called the Bric-a-Brac area. And I don't know why they call it that, but you can access the organ in the main dining room there. And when I say they have an organ, I mean they have a huge, like, cathedral-style organ inside their main dining room.
That's awesome.
And right? So you go through there, and they use this area as storage, and they store a lot of their taxidermied animals that have a lot of bad chemicals on them, formaldehyde, arsenic, and things like that they can't display to the public. And there was one security guard, his name is Alan, and he would go up there during his security sweeps at night. And what makes it even more creepy is the fact that these are coffin-shaped doors up there. Like, I'm not joking. Like, they're coffin-shaped doors, and if you open the doors and you look in, you've got these taxidermied animals just staring at you from the darkness, and it's just like, yeah, I don't need to be here.
It reminds me of, have you seen Ace Ventura? When he walks in, he's like, this is a lovely room of death. Thank you.
Yes, exactly. And so Alan was up there, and he's doing his standard procedure, his SOPs, and then finally he feels something shaking his shirt sleeve, his right arm shirt sleeve. Now, he was wearing a short sleeve shirt, and he looked down, and it was moving like someone was grabbing a hold of it and tugging on it repeatedly. And at first he's like, that's just got to be the wind. But he said it just kept tugging over and over with force rather than whipping in the wind. But it's a closed area, so there can't be wind. And he went, and he turned around, and he didn't go back for several days. And they asked him why not, and he said, because it's some weird things going on up there. I don't want to be up there by myself. And so that was the first story I had ever heard about the place being haunted. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. So I talked to the other security guards. On the 3rd floor, they have a thing called the console, which is where all the security for the Biltmore Estate resides. Like, that's where they have all the consoles, computers, cameras, things like that. And above console is a thing called the observatory, and it's like a little library with this huge skylight overhead. And every once in a while, they will, the security guard on the 3rd floor will be hearing someone. It sounds like they're moving furniture, and I don't mean as a euphemism. I mean, it sounds like someone's literally pushing furniture across the floor. And so they'll send the roaming security guard up there to go see, to find out what the noise is. And right before, and the gentleman on console or lady on console will watch the roamer walk toward the observatory, and right before they get to the observatory, the sounds just stop. There's no cameras in the observatory. I'm like, why don't you put cameras in the observatory? And they're like, well, apparently they can't. There's something to do with how old the building is and being able to get the wires and the Ethernet cords up. Yeah, to get it through the building. She can't destroy or push through certain walls. Yeah. I don't know why, but apparently they can't. And so that's another story. Another one is Edith Vanderbilt. Some of the security guards say they can hear a woman talking as if she's having a one-sided conversation, and you can hear her mention George Washington Vanderbilt's name as she's roaming around the building. And then if you go looking for where this disembodied voice comes from, you can never find it. And so people get kind of freaked out about that one. Another security guard told me on some days, the cigar room will smell like very, very super pungent of cigar smoke. And it will emanate from the billiards and cigar rooms to the rest of the floor. But the thing is, it's very odd because you can put your nose right up to the cloth paper, the cloth on the wall coverings, and it doesn't smell like smoke at all. Yeah. And so that's just an odd occurrence, and we're like, that is so weird. Yeah. So I came into work one morning, it was about 6 a.m., and there was two night cleaners, and one of them refused to go back into, and everybody's, why not? And he goes, I was up there, and I passed through this cold area of the house. Every hair on the back of my neck stood up, and I felt like I was in danger. And I ran out, and I haven't been back in yet. And I said, where did that happen? And he goes, near Edith Vanderbilt's room, because George and Edith stayed in separate wings because it wasn't proper for husband and wife to be in the same, to live in the same co-domicile. No. Well, anyway, they weren't supposed to stay in the same area. Yeah, exactly. It wasn't proper for the times. And cohabitate, that's the right word I was looking for. Mm-hmm. And so he said he was cleaning the carpeting in the hallway near Edith Vanderbilt's room, and he just felt like he was in danger. Like I said, every hair on the back of his neck stood up. He said he felt very, very cold. He didn't like it, and he ran out of the building. He says as soon as he left the floor, he felt better. Mm-hmm. And as soon as he left the house, he felt even better than that. And it kind of made me wonder if he was doing something he wasn't supposed to, and maybe Edith just didn't like it.
Mm-hmm. Maybe. Is that kind of the vibe you got from that guy?
Yeah, well, he wasn't exactly the most stand-up of people. Yeah. Mm-hmm. If you catch my drift.
I hear you.
But
well, do you know, I bet you do. Do you know how Edith Vanderbilt died?
Let's see here. I don't think they released that information. Let's see here. Let me double check. Quite sure how she died. I know George Washington Vanderbilt, he died of an appendicitis.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but Edith, I'm not so sure about. Cornelia died of his daughter died of old age. Mm-hmm. Edith Vanderbilt. And I think George Washington's mother, she died of tuberculosis. Okay.
Because it almost seems like they're all just still living there like it's normal. Like smoking cigars, she's having conversations.
Right? It could very well be. They just, maybe they like the house so much. Maybe they like the fact that they get over 1 million visitors a year. I have no idea. Yeah. I personally wouldn't want anybody in my house.
No, me neither.
Roaming around and looking at all my things.
But then again, if your house is that fucking big, it would be so, right? It just seems like it'd be lonely. So maybe they're just finally there's people filling this space.
see here. How old? See, Edith Vanderbilt was 85 years old when she died, so we can probably assume natural causes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Especially for the time. What time period was this?
Let's see here. Edith Vanderbilt was born in 1873 and died in 1958.
Whoa.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They put a lot of work into that area. I mean, they didn't just build a house. They ended up buying, George Washington Vanderbilt bought the 260,000 acres, and they ended up giving most of it to become Pisgah National Forest.
Oh, that's cool.
To pay bills. Right? Yeah, I think so. I thought so. I used to go roaming through there all the time. It was fantastic. All right, so I got 3 more quick stories for you.
Okay.
Just about Biltmore Estate. Now, I'm going to give you 3 more, and the last one will be the creme de la creme. I promise you're going to love it.
Okay, great. I love how you've set this up.
So we're going to move to the other side of the estate, and it's a thing called the winery.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
And I'm sorry, where is this located again? Is this one in North Carolina?
Asheville. That's right, Asheville, North Carolina.
Okay, got it.
Right there in the Blue Ridge Mountains. Very, very hilly, not really mountainous, but they say they're mountains. So I'm like, they're big hills. You need to get off your high horse.
Yeah, well, so to speak. Not that high.
Right, exactly. But ching.
Yeah, right.
So I was working at the winery, and we got a phone call. We got a phone call over the radio, and it was one of our cleaners. His name was Libardo Cardones. We called him Lee for short. He was Colombian, so he's calling us on the radio, freaking out. Sheet. Can't understand a word he's saying, but we know he's cussing. Come, Kenny, come, Scott, Daddy, come quickly to the gift shop. Oh, sheet. And we're like, what's wrong? And he goes, sheet. And we're like, all right. So we ran to the gift shop, right? We came up to the shop thinking maybe something was on fire or there was a gas leak, because we had no idea. We get there, and he's pointing to the middle of the gift shop floor, and we're like, what's going on? He's pointing, and he's like not saying anything. So we walk over there, and I'm not kidding. There was a footprint, a bare footprint about the size of maybe an 8-year-old to 10-year-old. One footprint in the middle of the gift shop floor. All the doors were locked because the winery hadn't opened yet, and no other footprints, just that one. And we're looking at it.
Water, like it was wet?
It was wet. That's correct. It was not ectoplasm, but it was definitely it was water because it was evaporating normally.
Yeah.
However, there was only one, and it was the right foot, and no other footprints in the middle of the gift shop. And so we're looking around going, so there's this barefoot person running around with only one wet foot. And then after they put their foot down, they started hopping. So this is really weird. I was like, Scott, what's up with this? And he goes, yeah, I got to tell you a story about this place. And so we all went down to the break room. We're like, yeah, way. He goes, this place is haunted. And we're like, come on, Scott, come on, give us a break. And he goes, no, seriously, this place is haunted. And I'm going to tell you my story. And I immediately clammed up so I could listen to what he has to say. So apparently there was a little girl that used to go with her mother to her work when the winery was a dairy farm. They used to milk cows in the dairy and sell the milk throughout this area. And her name was Olivia. Olivia ended up going to play in the fields because her mother said, "Go, I got to do work." So Olivia had the run of the place. Well, apparently there was a small stampede and the cows crushed her.
Whoa. And
she was about 9 or 10 years old at the time, and she never left. So Scott said he was there when he was in the basement of the winery, and the winery basement is really creepy. It's like stonework, but it's very, very rough with old mortar. And what they used to do is have a rail cart system to cart out all the cow's feces out of the building so it wouldn't smell that bad. And so he was down there coating the floors with an epoxy, and he had just gotten finished, and he had just closed up all the doors. And as he was looking back through the double doors, because the double doors had some glass in it, he saw a light on the other side of the door, and it looked like an LED lamp. And at first he said, "Oh, it must be security coming through here. Okay, I'll go and figure out why they're in here in the dark at 1 a.m. So he opened the doors back up, and he came out into there was a T area. He came out to the T, and he looked left, and the hallway is about 100 yards long or so, and it curves to the left down at the end. He said the light to the curve. Now, keep in mind, he had stepped maybe about 6 steps, and this thing had gone over 100 yards.
Yeah.
This light. So he's looking, and he goes, "Hello?" And he heard a little girl's voice say, "Mama?"
Oh.
And he said he didn't even wait. He didn't wait. He didn't pause. He said he tore up the stairs, ran out the front door, into the parking lot, got in his truck, and took off. He said he left all the doors unlocked. He left all the lights on and everything. He was so freaked out. I'm like, "You're kidding me." He's like, I was like, "That did not happen." He goes, "Yes, it fucking happened, man."
Whoa.
And he goes, "I'm willing." And he goes, "You be on the lookout. Stuff like that's going to happen again, and you're going to see it." And I'm like, I'm excited by this prospect.
Yeah.
Lay it on me.
I would be too.
Well,
the thing is, like, about hearing the little girl say "mama," my immediate reaction is like empathetic, where I'm like, "Oh, that poor kid." But then I totally would be fucking terrified if I heard that too.
Well, the thing is, with me, I'm not terrified of any of these things. I actually go actively looking for them. I've been in situations where things were supposed to happen, and I'm like, "Come on, show me something."
I mean, I have a show where I go to haunted places with comedians. Like, I actively look for it too. But at the same time, like, I'm sure if you heard that, it would be like, holy shit. It would be chilling. But
I hope so.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think it depends on the type of spirit.
Maybe. I don't think Olivia was a malignant spirit or anything. Yeah. She's just roaming around messing with the help.
And she seems, she's a little kid. I mean, to be yelling out, "Mama," like, that's like, that feeling where you're like lost in the grocery store and you can't find your mom when you're, 8.
Yeah. Imagine her problem is that she can't find her mother, and so she's been looking for her for like a century.
Oh,
over
that
a century,
breaks my
she
heart.
can't find her. I know, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh my gosh. Like I said, Biltmore Estate, the official thing is that it's not haunted. They refuse to allow ghost hunters on premises and things like that to investigate. But I kept my ears to the ground and was listening quite a bit. Mm-hmm. All right, so my last story about the winery. So we had hired a gentleman named Keith, and he was our electrician. Mm-hmm. And he didn't know anything about Olivia, and all the rest of us did. So he was riding the elevator going from the basement where the rocks and the mortar were, all the way up to the clock tower. Mm-hmm. And he said as he was riding up, he was doing his business in the clock tower. I think he was doing something with a couple of plugs. And as he was getting on the elevator, he pressed the down button. He heard a little girl say, "Going down." Oh. And he jumps out of the elevator because there's nobody around. He jumps out of the elevator and he hops on his and he starts looking around. Then he takes the stairs and goes down to the second floor and starts looking around. He goes back down to the basement and no one's around. And so he calls up on the radio and he goes, "Hey, you guys quit messing with me." And we're all and there were 4 of us together, not including Keith, in the break room, and we're like, "Keith, what are you talking about?" And he goes, "Are any of you near the clock tower?" We're like, "No, we're all in the break room." And he said, "I'll be there in a second." Mm-hmm. And so he came to us, and he's like, "Guys, I know y'all are messing with me." And we're like, "What are you talking about, man?" He goes, "Y'all are messing with me. I just heard a little girl say going down." And Scott, without missing a beat, turns and looks at him and goes, "Oh, that's just Olivia. Don't worry about her." And he goes, "What do you mean, Olivia? Don't worry about? What the hell are you talking about?"
Yeah.
And so Scott again explained the story, and I'm sitting there just cracking up laughing at Keith because he had such fear in his eyes.
Yeah.
And I was just like, "You poor man. You poor man." Oh, but yeah, Olivia haunts the winery, and she's the only one that I actually know about that actually is actually named and has made herself known to numerous people at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Biltmore is a very interesting place to work.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. It sounds beautiful, too.
Oh, yeah.
Just describing the winery, and it sounds like a really beautiful spot.
It's gorgeous there. What's that saying? Be still my heart. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's how I felt when I first saw it.
Yeah, like a castle, pretty much.
Yeah, it's based off a 16th century French chateau.
Oh, so
it's
it is, yeah.
The houses, yeah, the copper roofs. They use limestone for all the fascia. They have an indoor garden called the Winter Garden that has a trap door going down to the level below in the center of the room. They have secret doors. They have, the secret door going from the cigar room to the billiard room, and you wouldn't know it was there unless you knew it was there. Uh-huh. You were specifically looking for it. They have the sub-basement, and sub-basement, everybody gets creeped out by the sub-basement because it's dark. It's dark, it's dank, and it has these huge ventilation shafts that lead from the outside of the house to the inside. And these ventilation shafts, you could fit a car, like a small car, inside them. That's how big they are. And because it's so dark down there, you can't see to the bottom. And so you're looking down in these pits while you're in the sub-basement going, yeah, there are no monsters down there. I know they're not. It's cool.
Yeah.
But secretly inside you're going, oh my God, I hope nothing eats me.
Is the elevator, so maybe it's not to that part, but I was thinking about the elevator shaft that Olivia was seen in. Is that one of those where you can pull a gate shut? You know what I'm talking about? Like those old fashioned ones?
No, it was they had redone it. It's an Otis elevator, and it was a new elevator.
Oh, okay.
Unfortunately. Yeah, so but the clock tower and everything else was original. Mm-hmm. So that's probably where the original elevator was, and she was just hanging out right there, freaking Keith out.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And you can kind of see like a little kid imitating like a bellhop or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's crazy. Right?
Having fun.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Yeah, it really is. It really. Down at the barn, supposedly I had walked back to where the back of the barn where the bathrooms were and the storage closets were, and supposedly the shadow followed me back behind there, but I never saw it. One of my coworkers told me about that. I was like, you ever think that maybe it was just a moth flying past a light bulb, maybe, and it just cast a shadow? And the guy's like, I don't know. And I'm like, well, neither do I.
Yeah.
But like I said, I've never personally seen anything or heard anything, which I was looking for it too. That's the sad part.
I know. You know what? It almost seems like the more you're looking for it, the less likely it is to happen. It seems like that for everything in life.
I've heard that too, but at the same time, that's kind of sad, because if you're looking to better yourself, then you won't necessarily find it by that same reasoning. Or if you're looking for, I mean, it seems like it's kind of losing hope. So I continue to hold on hope that one day I will see something or have something interact with me. Yeah. That would be neat.
I'm sure you will.
I hope so. My brother's apparently sensitive. He sees things, and I'm like, well, that's neat. What does it look like? Mm-hmm. But he said he saw a demon walking through the forest. He said he took a pot shot at it, and this is in the East Coast as well. He said he took a pot shot at it. The demon turned and looked at him and just kept trunking through the forest like nothing had happened.
What? Wait, what's a pot shot?
My brother was out hunting with some of his friends.
Oh, I see.
And they were, as they were hiking through the woods, they both saw this stereotypical goat-legged, horned red demon with, a fur loincloth and black patchy hair, just not 7 or 8 feet tall.
Holy
just
shit.
Tramping through the forest like he had some place to be. And my brother said he took a pot shot at it, and the demon was, without missing stride, turned and looked at my brother dead in the eyes, looked away from it, and just kept going like nothing. I'm like, wow, dude, that happened? And he goes, that was one of the scariest moments of my life. I was like, you're shooting at a demon, man.
Yeah. And the guy was like, I'm a fucking
demon.
Like, what
exactly.
are you doing? I have somewhere to be.
Antagonize something that could eat your soul. That's a great idea.
Good idea.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, I have somebody else to haunt, but I'll get back to you.
Okay. Pretty much. He goes, I'll find you later.
Yeah, right? Looking right in your eye, that doesn't feel good. That would be unsettling at best. Kelly was so much fun to talk to. I hope you enjoyed the call. Thank you so much for your stories, Kelly. If you have a great ghost story that you want to share with me, we want to hear from you. Email your story to litdarkpodcast@gmail.com. That's litdarkpodcast@gmail.com. We can't wait to hear your stories. Thanks so much for listening.
River City Podcast Federation.